Today, our Luba 2 is going to get its first real maintenance and cleaning after 1,000 hours of pretty satisfactory work. So there's a couple things we need to address. And I mentioned this in the 900-hour review video. Now we're over 1,000, and I finally got the parts and the time to bring him back around a little bit. One thing is the cutting blades. I'll show you guys closer here in a second. They're so worn out. Not just the blades, the bolts holding the blades to the disc on the underside are completely just misshapen and deformed. And I don't really just want to put a pair of vice grips on it or cut a new slot with a screw. I want to fix it properly and also upgrade at the same time. So this is a very good example of dull blade situation where he cuts good. His lines are nice and straight, but we get some of the crabgrass is just too tough for the dull blade. So I've got little sprigs sprouting up everywhere. I'll show you another example of that. Just misses a bunch of these little tall stragglers. The other thing, the mower deck height cannot be adjusted. It can only operate in its most elevated position, which I think is 2.8 inches, which doesn't look terrible. But I also mentioned in the other video, the problem with that is weeds become visible at that height. Whereas when I cut it at 1.4 inches, where I had been cutting it, it was much more consistent look. So we're gonna try to take the discs off, clean it really good, even the outside. He's gonna be white again. And we'll put on the aftermarket discs. I'll show you those and tell you where I got those from. And we're gonna see if we can fix the deck height adjustment problem. So here's what we're looking at underneath. Just super worn out blades. And the blades could be flipped and reused, that's no biggie. But the screw heads are just mangled. And what meat is left of them does not want to let go. What that means is getting these discs off the blades is not possible, at least not without, either cutting a groove or putting some vice grips on there and just further damaging these bolt heads. So we're gonna do something a little bit different. I realized what I think I need is new discs. So I went to Etsy and picked up these new 6-blade discs. They're 3D printed units. They're made by a guy called Made by Rufus. And he's got really good reviews, actually. And he is a very nice guy. I spoke to him a couple times. Very helpful. And those seem to be a pretty decent product. So we are going and blades. So we're gonna try to bust this loose. Those are crusty. I may hit that with some PB Blaster, and then I'll let you know how those come off. So those 3 bolts holding the disc to the motor actually come off really easy. I just needed this little bitty, I think that's 2.5 millimeter Allen key. So reminder, we're tackling 2 problems. One, replacing the discs with our new units, and also trying to figure out where our deck adjustment problem is. I'm not really seeing anything here that's gonna help us. I think we may need to go a little deeper, so we'll probably bust these off. See if we've got something jammed up there on the inside. All right, with the same tool, there are 3 of the same size bolts that hold this guy on. Don't know what it's called, but it is what sandwiches the this little boot to the motor. So here's the boot that I'm assuming kind of telescopes in and out as the deck height is adjusted, excuse me. What I noticed was that this guy was actually pretty hard, not hard to get off, but it was actually stuck on there. And what you'll see here, there was there's a mud ring in here that attached itself to the boot, and I'm hopeful that that is the problem. I mean, it was seized together. You can see fragments of dried dirt, dried mud. I guess all dirt's dry. Where it was kind of just stuck in this socket. Now, I'm not sure. Does that mean this whole mechanism moves up and down with the motors? This thing has some serious added weight to it from factory. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna get too invasive on this yet because that definitely seems like a problem, especially if this was also stuck out of frame to this guy. It was in there pretty good. So not sure if that's the fix or not, but I'm gonna clean all this up, lightly spritz it, brush it. I think, yeah, my wife's toothbrush would work good for that. And while I'm at it, I'm gonna try to vacuum and clean all this up. I'm not gonna record that because it'll be loud and monotonous, but when I come back, this should all be cleaner than it is now. And yeah, then we'll put the new discs on. Then we'll fire it up and we'll see if it works. I figured some of y'all might want to see kind of what I'm dealing with here. I took the bolts out on the other side. See, there's a little bit of stickage there. But I wonder if that wasn't just the rubber boot on this surface. What is that? Yeah, just some mouse fur. Yeah. Okay. I'm starting to wonder if this is actually the problem. It's a nice little chunk though. Well, if nothing else, it needs to be cleaned up. And if this doesn't fix the deck height adjustment problem, then we'll at least have a nice clean cut with the new blades. And we could always ship it back to Luba for warranty, but I figured we'll try cleaning it first and see if that gets us anywhere. Nah, she's cleaned up a little bit. I just used a little battery-powered shop vac, got all the big chunks out. Used some all-purpose citrus cleaner, Purple Power, and a microfiber, and I tried to just clean around the boot as best I can, getting all the little flaps and nooks and crannies. I'm trying to be delicate, because I know that you're not supposed to like pressure wash these, so I imagine this is kind of sensitive work here. So, just get in here and just be real ginger-like, like you're wiping your cat's butt or whatever. And I know it's not perfect, but hell, it's cleaner than I get myself. So I'm going to put these back on, and then we're gonna go on with the new discs. And I said I was gonna clean the outside of this thing. We'll see. All right, new ones go on like the old ones came off. That's the top, right? Or the bottom? No. Dish side in. So let me get these bolts started, and I'll be back in a sec. Cutting discs go back in using the factory hardware, I think. And then he supplies new razor blades with hardware pre-lock taut. So that's good. You can't just use any bolts for these. You got to have these shoulders. That's what they spin on, so don't get any ideas. Hopefully these will hold up at least another 1,000 hours. New discs and new blades are on. That was pretty easy. Make sure when you do this, all of the blades spin freely around the shoulder of the bolt head. All right, we're about done. I'm gonna flip it over and clean it, and we're gonna give it a task and see if it's any better than before. I was back here cleaning the back end, and look what I noticed. This contact appears to be recessed in the hole. I don't think that's supposed to be like that. I wonder if that's part of my charging problem. Intermittent charging problem. I can't remember if that's what it looked like before, but that doesn't look right. All right, cleaned. Wiped off the sensors, wiped off the camera. Listen, I'm not gonna get this thing spotless until I know it's working good. So if I gotta ship this sucker back to Mammotion, you know, that's really thick stuff. All right, let's give her a task. Them a task. So the easiest way I know to check and see if the deck adjustment works is to put it in manual. Oh, maybe the height's over here. Sorry, I'm new. Okay, cutting height. See if we go to 1.4. Lowering. I don't hear anything. Height adjustment failed. Perfect. All right, well, so she may go back to the manufacturer, but we're gonna see how these new blades do. And I may just come back tomorrow once she's mowed. I've showed you guys kind of all the spots that those other blades and discs weren't doing well. We'll see how good it looks. And the 2.8 height, once she gets a couple laps on her. Well, a quick action shot before we go. I just mowed this section yesterday or the day before. Yesterday. So we'll see if it picks up anything the old one left behind here. There's tall grass coming up. I guess I went around that hole. This will be a good test though right here. So it's been about 4 days since I put on the new cutting discs, and I will say, even though I failed to get the height adjustment to work, I kind of like the taller grass now that it's actually cutting properly. So even though the factory Luba is capable of getting a good cut, once you get a lot of runtime on them, if you mess up your hardware like I did, the aftermarket kit from Made by Rufus on Etsy is definitely a good alternative or a good substitute replacement part. So I'll leave a link to his store where I bought that. Very happy with it. I don't know, maybe I'll clean them one of these days. Looks much better over here too.